Food fraud is an issue that has been around almost since the dawn of mankind, from the watering down of beer to the weighting of bread and the adulteration of spices. The fortune to be made from tampering with foodstuffs has always attracted a large number of dishonest profiteers. Of course, the ultimate example of food fraud was depicted in the dystopian 70s movie Soylent Green, where a supposedly plankton-based food was actually being created from a surfeit of human corpses harvested from an increasingly overcrowded world. The motivation there was not just profit, but desperation, as the world's decimated resources rapidly dwindled away. The now familiar spoiler phrase towards the end of the film was "Soylent Green is people." So, could anything like that ever happen in real life? Aren't there safeguards in place to prevent it? While it's hard to imagine right now that anything quite so awful could even be attempted, let alone slip undetected through national and international safety and integrity checks, it has to be admitted that the current surveillance system is flawed. 7 years ago, the public were horrified to discover that in some cases what they were innocently purchasing and consuming as beef actually was, or at least contained, horsemeat. Not only was this morally abhorrent to many and clearly dishonest, but it also represented a food safety risk, with horseflesh quite likely to be contaminated with chemicals not found or permitted in meat cleared for human consumption. There was also an economic cost. Consumers were being charged a premium for what they believed to be a more expensive product, with the perpetrators reaping the profits by substituting a cheaper fake product. The resulting scandal rocked the industry and resulted in recall on a massive scale, as well as plummeting consumer confidence. You would think that lessons would have been learned and that nothing like what has been described as Horsegate would ever happen again. But no. In recent months, investigations have revealed that quantities of illegal horsemeat are still finding their way onto the market, both in Europe and further afield. And of course, we're now in the middle of a pandemic supposedly originating in Chinese wet markets, where exotic species mix with traditional and domestic livestock in appalling conditions, creating the opportunity for zoonotic diseases to cross over into the human food chain. All of this is evidence of a flawed food system. As a recent article in Prospect magazine noted, the problem comes from treating food more as a commodity than as a product. Unless the root cause is addressed, the problem will never go away. While there are many ethical consumers, says the article, who vote with their wallets for fairer, more sustainable food, many more either can't afford or can't be bothered to do so. It goes on to suggest that the preference for genuine products is shallow, with customers, people like you and me, often basing our purchases on price and branding. So, in a perverse sense, the consumer is both the actor and the victim in food fraud. We need to take responsibility and demand a better, more transparent system, and we must be prepared to pay for it. Which brings us to one recent development that I believe harbours the risk of future food fraud: cultured or lab-grown meat. A 21st century scientific advance that has been trumpeted as heralding the demise of the rearing of livestock for food. This has attracted the attention of many consumers who love their meat-based diet and wouldn't consider becoming vegetarian, but deplore the frequently unhygienic and cruel system used to produce that meat. Their hope is that in time the currently prohibitively expensive production of cultured meat could become an economically viable proposition and allow them to continue consuming meat, but with a clear conscience. The big risk, in my view, is that just like in the case of the horse meat fiasco, unscrupulous individuals will be tempted to replace or supplement truly cruelty-free yet still very pricey lab-grown meat with the real thing, thus negating the whole point of growing the cultures in the first place. Those who wish to avoid the killing of animals for food would thus have their good intentions undermined. And how will the authorities detect such fraud? Unless genetic modification is being used as part of the laboratory process, DNA testing of the product will, by the latter's very nature, show it to be identical to the real thing anyway. So there'd be no way of detecting this adulteration. This seems to me to be a real ethical dilemma. Unless someone can prove me wrong, of course. I'd be delighted to receive informed comments on this. Please share this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet done so. Thanks.